Thanks, Warren. You probably have a couple of dozen direct reports from the multitude of non-insurance businesses that Berkshire owns, and this arrangement seems to work wonderfully for you. But I wonder if this could potentially pose a challenge to your successors. Adding smaller units like Oriental Trading and the newspaper group, even if they are economically sound transactions individually, could arguably add to the unwieldiness of the organization. How do you weigh the benefits of adding earnings with the risk of leaving a less focused and harder to manage company for even highly capable successors?
Yeah, I think my successor will probably organize things a little differently on that, Jonathan, but not dramatically so. And we'll certainly never leave the principle of our CEOs running their businesses in virtually all important ways, except for capital allocation. But I actually have delegated a few units to an assistant of mine, and my guess is that my successor will modestly organize things in a somewhat different way. I've grown up with these companies and with the people and everything, and so it's a lot easier for me to communicate with dozens and managers, sometimes very infrequently, because they don't need it. It just sometimes it's their own preference to some degree. And somebody coming in fresh would want, obviously, to understand very well, and that person will understand, in fact, understands now very well the major units. But you're right, when you get down to units that we have, some businesses that make, only $5 or $10 million a year or something like that. And my guess is that it gets rearranged a little bit, but that won't really make any difference. I mean, the real money is made by the big businesses. It will continue to be made by the big businesses and the insurance business, and a little change in reporting arrangements, maybe one more person at headquarters if they go crazy, will really take care of things. Charlie?
Well, I think, of course, it would be unwieldy to have so many businesses, a lot of them small, if we were trying to run them through an imperial headquarters that dominated all the details. But our system is totally different. If your system is decentralization almost to the point of abdication, what difference does it make how many subsidiaries you have?
Yeah, it's working pretty well now,
Yeah,
and it'll work pretty well afterwards too. But my successor is not going to do things identically, be a mistake. But the culture will remain unchanged, and the preeminence of the managers of the operating units will remain unchanged. And then every now and then something comes along and a change needs to be made. Sometimes it's through death or disability, and sometimes a mistake is made. But in the end, we're now trying to acquire companies that are at least at the $75 million pre-tax level. Incidentally, the best acquisitions, or to some extent the best acquisitions, certainly from my standpoint makes it easier, is these bolt-ons that I talked about in the annual report, in which we did, I think, $2.5 billion worth of last year, because they fall under the purview of managers that we've got terrific confidence in, and they add really nothing to what happens at headquarters. And of course, the best bolt-ons of all are when we do buy out a minority interest. When we buy $2 billion worth more of ISCAR, or $1.5 billion more of Marmon, with another $1.5 billion to come in the next year, that's adding earning power without it, posing any more work. Those are the ultimate in bolt-on acquisitions, getting more of a good thing. Charlie, any more on that, or?
Well, if you start to think about it, if we're all that difficult, what we're doing now would be impossible, and it isn't.
I'll have to think about that a little.
Well, think of 50 years, no, 20 years ago, if they said to you, can you manage something this size with a staff of 10 or something in a little office in Omaha. People would have thought that's ridiculous. But it's happened, and it works.
Well, we'll let it go at that.